welcome to Fork in the Loaf. My name is Heather, and today I'm going to be doing a video on, I'm going to be canning coleslaw. That is something I've never done before, so you get to do that with me. I know that coleslaw, the recipes that I've seen a lot of people doing call for a lot of sugars and I'm understanding that the sugar is not for the preservation, but for the flavor preference. And I think what I would like to do, I'm gonna do two different kinds. I'm gonna do one with the sugar and I'm gonna do one without sugar. And then in a couple weeks time, we'll do a comparison. We'll add the sweetener to it after we have opened it, kind of a thing. And I'll probably use like monk fruit or maple syrup or honey or something that's more like not refined sugars. So I'm going to point you down. I'm going to show you our situation with our cabbage and show you some of the ingredients that I put together for this. It sounds like sugar is preferential, that it's about flavor and not about preservation. And I know there's a recipe in one of the ball canning books and it calls for like cinnamon and turmeric and all this stuff. I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm going to use mustard seed and I'm going to use celery seed, and that's it. In my brine. Sorry, I will be using a brine. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so I went to Cliff's Market, which is a local store here that every October-ish they get kraut cabbage, and I've had these for a couple days, so I need to kind of peel that top layer off of them. So this was a 16-pound kraut cabbage. This was a 14-pound, and I think this one was only like 6 pounds, 7 pounds, something like that. So I think I'm gonna keep this one for my kraut cabbage, and I think I'm gonna keep this one for my kraut cabbage, because I know that we do sauerkraut. We love sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is another thing on my list for this weekend. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do with this big ginormous cabbage is I'm going to cut it in half, stem side down. Holy cow, this thing's a beast. Did that kind of wonky. So I know that I have a bad spot here that kind of cracked, it looks like. So I'm going to investigate. I got core right here, so I'm just going to cut that off because some of that bad stuff is on it. And I have a chicken bowl here that I'm going to put some of the stuff in there for chickens, but not the stuff that's bad. Mold and chickens don't get along well. So if it's got moldy type stuff possibly on it, I'm not going to give that to my chickens. Okay. Got our little, okay, so this is where I've got the stem and the crack. So normally I would go, let's cut that stem out. Normally I would do this a little differently, but because of that big spot there that I'm a little worried about, I want to make sure that I'm not getting mold or any of that in our canned goods. So to cut that core out, I'm gonna go ahead and cut through all that, or cut out all that stuff that looks like it might be bad. And I'm sorry, I've got 14 pounds of cabbage there. Losing a little bit is not gonna hurt us. Okay, so I decided to shred this by hand because I didn't feel like, I mean, I would have to make them smaller than this just to get them through my food processor. So I'm like, yeah, I might as well just cut it by hand. So I'm gonna get this all, this is a big head of cabbage. Holy cow. What the heck am I gonna do with 14 pounds of cabbage? Actually, I took off probably a good 5 pounds. just by taking out all that stem and gook. So I'm going to put this in my big kraut cabbage bowl. Holy cow, you guys. So this is like not even a quarter of the cabbage. I still have a half and these two. So that's a lot of cabbage, y'all. So while I've got just this much cabbage in here, I need to get some shredded carrot and some red pepper. I'd like to put a little red cabbage in there. Guys, that's not even a quarter of the cabbage. So let's get one of these red peppers in there. I already washed them. And for the red pepper, I'm just gonna chop it up. Like, I want them smaller bits than I want them to add a flavor to it, but not overpower it. So for the cabbage, I got a little red cabbage because I love the color, and I think that the purple in the red cabbage actually provides a little bit more antioxidants, and I can't remember what it's called, but there is an enzyme or a chemical or something in that red colored cabbage that's good for you. Like, it's got a lot of really good, gosh, I can't remember the name.
Brine.com, they say its antioxidants include vitamin C, carotenoids, and flavonoid antioxidants such as anthocyanins and camphorol. Do you want a little more context?
Now, normally in my coleslaw, I don't put peppers in it. So it's weird to me that we're putting peppers in it. So I'm going to keep it really light on the pepper because I don't understand the purpose of it. I do need to get a little bit of carrot in there. Chickens will love this. My dogs love carrots. My little dog, Xander, loves broccoli. Odin tolerates it. Odin loves carrots. Xander tolerates them. I'm going to do about half of a red per. Now for carrots, I would totally pull out my food processor, but it's only 2 carrots. I have the hardest time dirtying up my food processor for something like that. I like to use my food processor for cheese. I like to use it for like if I'm shredding a ton of cheese, or if I'm doing, I have done it with my cabbage too, and it's good for that. Sometimes I just would rather do it by hand than pull out the food processor, I guess. I don't know. And I honestly feel like the purple cabbage, the carrot, and the red pepper are more for color than anything. Because can you imagine just doing that? It would be very boring looking. I have heard of people, I saw somebody who was canning cabbage. I don't know that we would like it that way. We do like to saute it, and we love boiled cabbage with like, what is that called? Corned beef and cabbage, or like we do a soy chicken with just cabbage, cabbage, soy sauce, water, chicken. We like boil our chicken thighs in soy water with a bunch of soy sauce in it. And then when it's almost done, I think my husband got it from, my husband served a mission in Riverside, California for our church. And one of his companions made this soy chicken, and he ate it with mayonnaise. I think it was like the guy was from Tonga, and that was a dish that he made for my husband while they were on their mission, and he's kind of stuck to it ever since. We have it probably about once a month. It's one of those times that I'll eat soy sauce, because it's not the same with coconut aminos. And you eat it with mayonnaise, and not just a little bit of mayonnaise. You eat it with a dollop of mayonnaise. Kind of weird. But you boil the cabbage, after the chicken is done, you put the cabbage in there, and you boil that cabbage for a while too, and it gets soft and soy sauce absorbs into the cabbage. Oh, it's delicious. But I digress. Where was I? So we do like our cabbage cooked and boiled and stuff like that, but I don't know how canning it would do. It's kind of an interesting concept. This will be for our next one. So I use pink Himalayan salt. I probably would use Redmond's real salt. Do not use table salt for this. I don't use table salt for anything except for cleaning things. Like if I'm cleaning out a cast iron skillet, I'll throw in some table salt that I have left over, but I don't use table salt for anything anymore. You're going to take about a tablespoon of salt and just kind of sprinkle it all over. We're going to get it all in there. I can already feel it starting to get wet from the salt extracting all the juices. My understanding for salting it before you do the coleslaw canning is it extracts the juices. You don't use those juices. You're not wanting to dilute the brine. You're wanting that brine to be, you're going to pickle this basically. So I'm gonna let this sit. I'm gonna get this other bowl filled up as well. I might not make it through that whole cabbage for this, but I'm gonna get this one done as well so it can sit here and rest. And then when I start making the brine, I'll get back to you. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a show of what we've got. So I still have that much of my 14-pound cabbage left. And I've got 2 big bowls filled. And this one I did, so I chose not to put peppers in this one. So, because like I said, we don't use peppers in our coleslaw normally. So for me to put peppers in our coleslaw is kind of an odd concept. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do half and half. And I'm gonna do, actually I'm gonna do half with sugar. This is the one with peppers. I'm gonna do half with sugar, half without. And then this is the one without peppers, and I'm gonna do half with sugar and half without. And I'll just make sure you gotta mark it all when you're done. Because I don't know about you, I will forget. I will forget which is which. I will forget what it is. Although this I'm sure will look like something that's pretty self-explanatory. So I'm going to leave these right here for at least an hour. I'm going to go sit down and watch a show with my husband. I'll probably put a towel over them just to keep any bugs out. But I'm going to just let them sit here and sweat and get a lot of that fluid out of their cells. And I'm going to clean up my mess. And I'll see you back here when I'm ready to process that into make the brine and do all the next stuff. This is just going to have to get probably eaten for dinner. Maybe I'll fry that up and I don't know. I've got the other pepper that I did chop up but decided not to put in this batch. I will probably maybe make a stir fry or something. Okay, so now we're gonna make the brine. And I've been doing a little bit of research. I was looking in my home preservation, my Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. And I was trying to figure out what the brine to water ratio should be. And so far, the one that there's the dill sandwich slices, and that is a 50% water to 50% vinegar ratio. There's another one in here that had 12 cups of water to 5 cups of vinegar, but I didn't look to see if maybe part of that water was used for, yeah, the 12 cups is divided, so I'm betting they use some of that water for something else. But even still, I believe they do 3 cups of vinegar to 3 cups of water. So I'm assuming, and I think it's safe to assume, that the minimum ratio of water to, or vinegar to water should be no less than 50% vinegar. So in the recipe that I think I'm gonna use, because I've seen some recipes where they do all vinegar with sugar and some spices, and I think that would be just too much. So I'm gonna do probably 2 parts of vinegar to 1 part of water. And then I'm gonna add some spices. I think I might just do that in the jars so that each jar gets the same amount of spice. Okay, so in the first brine, I think I'm going to do, I don't need to heat it up because I'm not adding sugar to it. So in my 1 quart jar, I have a little over a cup of water. It's a little more than 1/4 of the jar. And the rest, I think I'm going to fill up with vinegar. And I don't think it has to be exact, as long as it's not more, or the vinegar is not less than 50-50. And I'm just using 5%. So if you look here, it says that it's ingredients: distilled vinegar from corn diluted with water to 5% acidity. We're looking for that 5% acidity. I had no idea it was made with corn, but alrighty. So I'm gonna do, so in here I have my mustard seeds. And I'm just gonna take about 1/4 teaspoon, maybe just slightly less than 1/4 teaspoon. I'm gonna put that in there. For celery seed, I'm gonna put 1/4 teaspoon. I love celery seed in my coleslaws. I think that's part of what makes the flavor of it. And I know that's not gonna be enough jars, so I'm just gonna show you just filling these jars. For the mustard seed, I'm not being heavy-handed with that. I like mustard seed and stuff like my pickles and stuff like that, but for this is how you know your coleslaw has been sitting in the salt long enough, by looking, I don't know if you can see this, seeing all that water, the juice. That's a lot of the juice that's been extracted. That's what we're looking for. I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna load a bunch into here, because you kind of want it to strain. You want it to be dry. You don't want it to be wet. So, not dry. It is wet, but you don't want it sopping. You don't want all that water dripping out of it. And my understanding is you don't want to pack it as tight as you pack sauerkraut, but you do want to pack it. You don't want it to be too loose. And I'm thinking, you know, right there to that 1-inch head space mark should be good. And I'm not going to press like I would sauerkraut, but I'm going to make sure that that is about right there. And it is pressed. It's not loose, it's not a loose pack. Now this is the one with my peppers, and I'm going to do it without sugar for these ones. Actually, you know what I should do? I'm going to pack all my jars first, and then we'll go through and decide which ones are going to have sugar and which ones aren't. So let me go ahead and finish packing these, and I'll be back with you. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to go ahead and use this that I've already done, that I just did with the vinegar and the water. And I'm going to add a cup of sugar and get this on the stove, because we want that sugar dissolving. And this is just organic cane sugar that I get from Costco. And I'm only going to use a cup. What it kind of looked like some people were doing, some of the different recipes that I saw and found, some people were doing equal parts sugar to everything else, and I don't want that much sugar. So I'm just going to keep it basic, and I'm going to go get this on the stove at medium heat while I'm busy packing these jars. And then I'm going to refill this one with the non-sugar brine. Okay, about 1.5 cups of water, and the rest vinegar, and that's just going to be my straight water brine, or water and vinegar brine. And then I will see you when I'm done packing. Okay, I've come up with a decision. I think I'd rather do with sugar the more of, and without sugar, the less of. So I'm gonna do without sugar into the wide mouths. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill these. I don't even know if you were able to see that. And you're filling to about 1 to 1/2 inch headspace. I saw the ball book said 1/2 inch heads. And then I have a chopstick. I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna debubble. Always debubble. If you can debubble, debubble. Because it's gonna help you with siphoning. It's gonna help you make sure you have the proper headspace. So once I debubbled, my water level went down quite a bit. So I'm gonna add just a little bit more of this so that it is back up to about 1/2 inch. And then last but not least, there's no fat in these, so I don't see any reason to use vinegar, but since I have a vinegar water right here, I'm gonna go ahead and take this down. Now these are the ones that don't have sugar, so you're really just making sure there's no chunks of cabbage or peppers or carrots or spices on there. Because I know I just wash them and make sure that they're clean. And then I'm just gonna put them on here. Make sure it's just finger tight. Like you wanna be able to just turn it off and on kind of a thing. You don't need to gank them on. You'll get buckling. You just want it to be kind of holding it in place. And sometimes I think it can look like it's tighter, that we're putting it on tighter than it really is on video, but I'm really just putting it on barely. I have my sugar water brine, and I've heard some people say you need to cool it down, and that doesn't make a ton of sense to me because I'm about ready to cook it in my canner, but it's not hot. I did not bring it to a full roiling boil. I just got it warm enough to start dissolving the sugar, so it's not hot, it's just warm. One thing about canning, it's messy. And no matter what, you're gonna have dishes to do. Such is my life. Now this is the one with peppers. And I have 7 jars filled with the peppers. And I'm gonna get these processing, and then I'm gonna work on the other batch. Now this one is the one that has sugar in it. So this one you're gonna wanna be just a little bit more careful that you're getting all of that, that you're not gonna have any sugar crystals on there. None of that stuff. And usually I'll do one step at a time. Like I'll do the debubbling and the refilling, and then I will go through and wipe them all. I'm off my game here. I kind of have a feeling we're gonna like the sugar one better just because we like our coleslaw sweet, right? Coleslaw is a sweet food item. It's not something that you eat often unsweetened. So hopefully the other one without sugar, I can find a way to sweeten it a little more like how we like to sweeten things, like without real sugar in it. Probably the most important part is wiping the rims, because you get anything between there, you're gonna create a seal that's not safe. Okay, kind of pretty. All that purple cabbage is gonna cause it to turn pink, and that's gonna be even prettier, I think. So let's take you outside to the water bath canner and we'll get this going. Okay, so the sun's not in the greatest location, but I think you'll get the gist of this. So I'm gonna put in a gallon of water right now. And the water is from my hot water tap so that it would be not so, it's not gonna be so hot that it's gonna crack any jars, and it's not gonna be so cold that it's gonna take forever to heat up. So it's just hot tap water. Okay, so I'm gonna put this down into the water. Now see, the water is far from above this, so hold on just a second. So your water level needs to be at least 1 inch above the jars. And we are not there yet, so I'm gonna go get just a little more water. And before I run in there to go get that, I'm gonna get this started so it's to start getting hot. Okay, so I know that from there to there is about 1 inch. And now I'm gonna put the lid on it, and I'm gonna bring this to a rolling boil, and I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Okay, so we've come to a rolling boil. That is too high. So I'm going to turn my heat down, and I want it to continue to boil, but a soft boil. It doesn't need to be to that rolling boil. See how now it's kind of softening up a little bit? I don't know if you can see through the fluff, the steam, but it's kind of a gentle boil now. So I set my timer for 20 minutes, and when that 20 minutes is done, we'll come back and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so my timer just went off. So I'm going to turn my heat off. I'm going to remove the lid, and I'm going to let it steam or just cool off for about 5 minutes. Once that 5 minutes is done, I'm going to use my jar lifter, and I'm going to pull these out, and I'm going to stick them on a towel that my camera is currently sitting on. And I'm going to let them sit and cool until it starts getting kind of cold tonight. I mean, it's kind of funny, like right now it's like, I don't know, probably close to 60 degrees outside. It's warm enough I had to take my shirt off underneath my shirt, but it was so cold this morning, like 30 something degrees. It's crazy how our temperatures are so anyway. This is one of the ways that I create my food storage. I try to use locally grown if possible. When I've gotten my kraut cabbages at Cliff's now for probably about 5 years, and it's always around October, and it's so exciting when it comes. I get these ginormous heads, and so I just go in, and they're tight, they're not loose, so they're beautiful heads of cabbage. And so I go in and I get a couple heads and I do something with them. I'm gonna do sauerkraut, and this is my first time doing this, and I'm kind of excited to try it. We love coleslaw, and it's a way to store it, that we can put it in our food storage and carry it through to us later, in the wintertime, or when cabbage is not available raw, or it starts getting hard to find in the grocery store, or whatever. We have a way to put another vegetable on our shelf. I don't know how many we would use. This is, like I said, our first time doing it. So I know that I've got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 jars in here, and I have 7 jars of the other one. So that's a little over a case. That's gonna have to get us through this winter. And honestly, if we love it, I will do a lot more next year to get us through next year. Look at how pretty. And it's too hot. I mean, I can feel it bubbling, but that, and see, because it's too hot, I'm gonna put it back in there. Sorry, it's just siphoning. It needs to cool. But I wanted to kind of wrap this up with you. I got some very dead plants over here, so kind of hide that. Anyway, so thank you for joining me on this adventure of a fork in the loaf. And I'm going to bring you back when I open these, and we'll see how that works for food. Go ahead and hit subscribe and like if you like this video. Share with your friends. And thanks for joining us.